Hello and welcome to the MBS News Epsilon debate. We are live at Studio 6A at the MBS Broadcasting House, which is where our debate studio is located. We are in this studio for the first time since MBS News broadcasted the United Cities election debates. So without further ado, we're going to go over just a few of we're going to go over what we are going to be doing for this debate. So first we're going to look at who the candidates are. We've got Sans Not Luigi. We've got Fox Fan Angel. Circles Pointless is filling in for I____7D. We've got Elite Neon. And we've got Echo Hui. So the format of the debate is going to be as follows. So first I have some questions that I'm going to be asking the candidates. The candidates will have about a minute to respond. I'm not going to do a hard timer, but please try to not go on too long because we don't want this debate to last for 5 hours. After that, we're going to have a commercial break. When we come back, there is going to be, we've received some public questions submitted to MBS News over the past week, which we are going to be asking you guys. Now, if you are a viewer watching the debate right now, stay tuned because after that, we're going to be going to another commercial break, and when we get back, part 3 of the debate, we will allow members of the public to ask questions based on everything that was said at the debate so far. So stay tuned for all of that. With regards to some ground rules for the debate, this applies to candidates and any members of the public. Please do not cause disruption during the debate. We do have security present, and if you are causing disruption, you will be removed. You are not allowed to enter the debate studio if you are not a candidate. That is why it is closed off. For the candidates, we do not want to restrict you from having a spirited debate, but please keep it civil. Basically, British parliamentary rules, more or less. If you cannot keep it civil, you will be warned, and if you continue to not be civil, you may be removed from the debate. So the format, first we are going to start with some opening statements from each of the candidates, and we're going to go in order of where your podiums are located. So we are going to start with Sans Not Luigi of the Epsilonian Development Party. You can give your opening statement now.
Hello everyone watching. My name is Sans Not Luigi. I'm running under the Epsilonian Development Party, as Kitty has told you. And I've got a few things that I just want to tell you guys in this debate, and why you should vote for me for the president of this Epsilon Republic. Now, I've got plans. I've got our central part of my campaign is the community events. It's definitely a big thing, community events. Because of our, I want to link the Republic together, really, in more ways than one. And one of these ways is our community events, which will include things like the Epsilon games, which are sort of like an Olympics, but in the context of Epsilon, things like Epsilonian golf tournaments, possibly, and also our infrastructure. I will be helping the respective departments of infrastructure construct things like bus networks, things like boat networks, things like train networks, and things like A roads, B roads. Definitely very important backbones of our republic here. That's about all I got to say for my opening statement. There will be more to come. Thanks, guys.
Alright, and next we are going to bring it over to Fox Fan Angel, who will be giving an opening statement.
Hello, my name is Fox Fan Angel, but most of here know me as Shark. So I am running on the Forward Epsilon Party, and which is I'm the only member of this party. There is no prime minister candidate, no vice president candidate, just me running for the president. And so I know that I'm really small and I tend to freak up everything like I did in Fjorkistan or the Spania. But if you don't give me a chance to show what I'm capable of, what how can I prove what I'm capable of? So if you want vote me, you'll not be disappointed. And my electional slogan is if he can be the classroom president, he can be the Epsilon president. Finish it.
All right, thank you for that. And next, we're going to move over to Circles Pointless, who is filling in for presidential candidate I underscore 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 7D.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. So, I'm Circles Pointless. So, I'm representing for I-70, who, in behalf of him, I'd like to apologize because he's not able to attend the debate due to time zone reasons. Okay, so you see, why I think I-70 is a good presidential candidate is because unlike the previous, within the Liberal Party, I think I-7 is the most capable leader among us. And in my opinion, we have changed a lot, and we are no longer what we used to be. I would like to say, I would like to extend my felicitations to Volpe for spearheading the reforms of the ROE that we see today, where we changed from an authoritarian dictatorship to a healthy democracy that we have today. And this democracy means everyone, regardless of their party affiliations or lack thereof, they can contribute to the republic. And we can also see this with I7, who, even though he's in the opposition, he had his fair share of contributions, such as the Epsilon newsletter. And I think I7 is also a good presidential candidate because he have quite some plans for the republic, mainly over infrastructure. And of course, we are always open for any suggestions and also criticisms. And I hope that this will reconsider your choices for the elections later. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Circles. And now we go to the opening statement from Elite Neon.
Good afternoon, everyone. How can you folks hear me? I just realized that you guys can't respond, so I'm just going to get on with this now. At this point, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Elite Neon. I'm running under the Coalition for Epsilonian Renewal, and I'd like to commend our current and outgoing President Volpicula on an excellent job handling this modern art crisis. The Constitution is broken, and we need to fix it. That has been so that has been excellently displayed with this crisis that transpired this Friday. Under the current quote-unquote Constitution, the Epsilon Republic, when ejecting a member, needs to go through the House of Representatives. However, during this election cycle, the House of Representatives is closed. This put the president in an impossible situation and put him in a situation where a GSM was on Sunday and a presidential debate was on the day before. We need to come together to make sure that that does not happen again. And we're also going to come together to to not just fix our infrastructure, to make our infrastructure better. Later today, I'll be putting forward my Greyhound Bus Initiative, and I hope to have a healthy debate today. May Epsilon live long and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Neon. And finally, we go to Echo Hue for your opening statement.
Hello, everyone of the Epsilon Republic. I am Echo Hugh. I am running for president on a platform of continuing the change that keeps MPOs alive. I believe that the first and foremost things that I will do as president, and that I believe everyone else on this stage should pledge to do as president, is reform the Constitution and establish a Justice Department immediately and before anything else. These two things have been a major cause of the recent crisis, and I believe that these two things need to be done before anything else. After I have got these things done as president, I will spearhead development projects and continue the growth of the Epsilonian Republic. That is all I will do as president. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have some questions that we have to ask each of the candidates. So we've got some questions that I'm going to be asking all of you. My first question is, what do you see is the role of the Epsilon Republic? Do you see it more as a vessel for political roleplay, a means of completing projects, or something else? We're going to start again with Sans Not Luigi.
All right. Well, in regards to that question, what do I see the Epsilon Republic as? I see the Epsilon Republic as definitely a political roleplay center, but I feel like it could be a lot more than that. It could be a whole lot more than just political roleplay. I do recognize political roleplay's very important place in the Republic, but it could be a lot more. That's why I've got plans to have community events. Community events can link together our community as some place to, actually make friends and hang out, and, I think it's a pretty cool place. Cool place here, definitely. But yeah, that's basically it. I see the Republic as a lot of stuff for political roleplay, but it could be a whole lot more than that.
All right. Same question to you, Foxfan Angel. What you see is the role of the Epsilon Republic. Do you see it more as a vessel for political roleplay, a means of completing projects, or something else?
So I think that when you're the president, I think that when people think of a president in real life, they usually think on the dumbest person alive. And they wouldn't be wrong. Many of the presidents like Bolsonaro, Trump, Boris Johnson are actually with a lower IQ than the expected of the man who controls the country. But I'm here to change that. I'm here like a 12-year-old man to show that teenager persons that a kid can value more than 100 men's. I mean, uh, I, I see the presidential status as as a way to show the country, the whole country, what you came here for, what you came to this, what are your ideas to to change the country, and it's your chance as the president to make these ideas reality. Finish it.
So do you primarily see the Epsilon Republic as a vessel for political roleplay, or do you not?
I see it. Uh, what's a vessel?
Something for the purpose of political roleplay.
Oh, I see the Epsilon and Republic as a coalition, an alliance for development and and prosperity. I mean, one of my proposes of presidency is the collaboration of people to make the towns prosper and maybe get the permanent mayors, senators, make governors, or maybe premiers. That's what I think the Epsilon Republic is, or or if not, it should be. Finish.
All right. Let's head over to Circles Pointless, filling in for I7 with the same question. What do you see is the role of the Epsilon Republic? Do you see it more as a vessel for political roleplay, a means of completing projects, or something else?
Okay, for me, and I believe I7 also shares the same view as me. I think the ROE is a little bit of both. Political roleplay is cool and all, but I think there's a important importance for something concrete, such as um, a collaborative project between the members of the Republic. And within in recent times, we've seen many discussions and also many discussions over the collaborations, such as the new plant capital up up north, and there were also, for example, Epsilon Rail, which is under the Ministry of Rail, and we also had quite a couple of discussions over bureaus and arrows on the Department of Roads, and for me, I think that is equally important as political roleplay, and for me, I think that's what the ROE should strive for, not just as a means for roleplay, but also as a mean to do something concrete. That's it.
All right. We're going to go next to Elite Neon. Repeat the question again. What do you see is the role of the Epsilon Republic? Do you see it more as a vessel for political roleplay, a means of completing projects, or something else?
As of now, not only is the Epsilon Republic a vessel for political roleplay, it is, or since Friday was, a public headache. We need to change this. We need to change our focus from political roleplay to bringing our community together through our new capital, increasing connectivity through my Greyhound bus initiative, increasing cooperation between cities, and not to mention fixing the Constitution and establishing an actual justice system. And I find it wrong to characterize two of the MRT's boldest leaders, Vulpicula and Echohue, as persons who lose IQ points.
Alrighty then. Let's head over to Echo. The same question to you. What do you see as the role of the Epsilon Republic? Do you see it more as a vessel for political roleplay, a means of completing projects, or something else?
I believe that, like all MPOs, the Epsilon Republic is founded upon political roleplay. This is the main thing that keeps it moving. It's the main thing that keeps it active. If it weren't for political roleplay, Epsilon would just devolve into not doing anything or simply cease to exist. But at the same time, I believe that the immense capital, the human capital that comes with having this large MPO can be put to use quite well for infrastructure projects, which is why I, as president, will be building 3A roads or other rail or canal projects during my term. With the large amount of people in Epsilon, I think that we have the ability to do these things, which other MPOs have not. And so I think, yeah, that's basically it.
All right, thank you. I have another question for all of the candidates. This time we're going to start with Foxfan Angel, and we're going to sort of continue that pattern with who answers the question first. But the question is, how will assuming the powers of the presidency allow you to achieve the goals that you've stated for the Epsilon Republic?
Uh, Sorry, can you make the question again?
The question is, how will becoming president and receiving all of the powers that the president has allow you to achieve your goals for the Epsilon Republic?
So I think that being the president, I say that again. Uh, I think that being the president is not actually a role for doing whatever you want, which actually it also is, but mainly it is that is the chance for you to have the to show the world what you're capable of, and being the president is is
Whoever just flew around in the background, Echo, could you teleport them to spawn?
so where I was. Oh yeah, I think that uh, that have that being the as being the president, I can I can. Uh, oh boy, I'm so confused. Uh, Uh, a second, please.
I'm specifically asking, how will being president allow you to achieve goals that you would not be able to achieve if you were not president?
Okay, so, okay, thanks, Katie. So when you're not the president, uh, when you're the president, you are the head of the country. You are the brain of the country. You are the one who says the final word. And and I'm and if when you're the president, it facilitates to tell the world that your ideas, what your ideas are. When a small guy, with the smallest party of the country, you you literally have no speech. No one will hear you. But as you are the president, everyone will hear you because you're the president. You are the one that has the total power of the country. So even that your idea is not accepted, everyone you know that you made the idea because you are the president. You have the biggest power. You have the rights to say the yes or no of the country. That's my yes.
All right,
I hope I answered your question.
let's head over to circles filling in for I-7. The question again: how will assuming the presidency allow you to achieve your goals for the Epsilon Republic?
On behalf of I7, I think if he were to be president, it would be easier to implement his projects that and he might sorry, excuse me. I think by being president, I think he will be able to gain a bigger voice, and I think all the planned projects would be much easily to be done, and um, I believe that by being president, the goal of making the ROE a more attractive MPO for everyone, um, we can achieve that easily by pushing for some more law reforms, such as making a more solid constitution, as been mentioned before by Elite, and also by having a more structural planning for infrastructure projects, um, such as a more strong department of roads, for example, or a more encouraging expansion of the Epsilon Rail. Um, and I think that's it for me.
All right, we're going to go to Elite Neon. The question again: how will assuming the presidency allow you to achieve your goals for the Epsilon Republic that you'd otherwise be unable to achieve?
Well, the presidency is a very high office, and with that comes a coalition of supporters. And I hope to make coalitions with other parties, such as the Lama Libertarian Party and the Standard Development Party. No, excuse me, the Social Democrats of Epsilon. It's same initials. I What comes with the president is that you get you get the people behind you. You have people behind you, and you get to work with people, and you just pray to God that it'll all work out eventually.
All right, and let's go over to Echo Hue. Oh, how will assuming the presidency allow you to achieve your goals for the Epsilon Republic?
Well, as president, I will be able to have more leverage. Because I am president, I'll be able to convince more people As president under the Llama Libertarians, which is currently by far the largest party, I have a very large voting bloc, so I will be able to push through many of my reforms, such as a new constitution and establishing a justice department. I will work with people as president to establish these things and to do the things that I have on my agenda. Volpicula was the president who made Epsilon into a democracy, and I will be the president who expands Epsilon into the largest democracy the MRT has ever seen.
All right, and finally, we will ask the same question to Sans, not Luigi. How will assuming the presidency allow you to achieve your goals for the Epsilon Republic?
Well, you see, basically, the president, I think, is respected as a leader in the republic. And when you think of the president, you think of a leader a lot. And so when the president gives their 2 cents on something, a lot of people are going to say, you know what? This guy's got a point. They might not say that if you're not president and you're just another member. But since you are president, you'll have a lot of people considering your ideas more than you will not. So take, for example, well, I can still pass bills, really. I can still draft up bills and have them accepted in the House of Representatives and all. But yeah, I think as president, you'll have a lot more people open to your ideas.
All right, thank you. Now, for our next question, some of you did touch on this in your opening statements, but for the next question, do you support constitutional reform in the Epsilon Republic? Why or why not? And what would this constitutional reform look like? Let's start with circles representing I-7D.
After the events that transpired earlier today and yesterday, it has come to my attention that the Constitution is not solid, and there were holes, and there were gaping holes, and this, I think, is something that needs to be resolved quickly. And for this, it has to be solved together. And so, if, in my opinion, if I7 were to reform it, then he would have to take into account of the opinions of every member of the Republic. That's it.
All right, same question to you, Elite Neon. You already sort of mentioned this in your opening statement, but do you support constitutional reform in the Epsilon Republic? Why or why not? And what would that constitutional reform look like?
Look at the name of my party. Reform is in the name. I'm 100% in favor of constitutional reform. The events of late Thursday and Friday show that the Constitution is inept. It is barely even there. I don't even think you can call it a constitution. Quite literally, and on several occasions this has been admitted, it is a copy-paste of the Constitution of Monaco, a real constitution, but things were changed to fit a Minecraft role-play server. Now, when the Constitution stipulates that the House of Representatives and the judiciary must approve of the expulsion of a player, then there must be a House of Representatives and a judiciary. We have the House, but it was closed because of an election season. We don't have a judiciary because either we haven't gotten around to it or everybody just forgot. Now, if a constitution is so inept to guarantee essentially that an emergency situation might not be able to be dealt with until the next entire parliamentary term, then it has to be fixed.
All right, thank you. And same question to you, Echo. Do you support constitutional reform in the Epsilon Republic? Why or why not? And what would this constitutional reform look like, if so?
As I said in my opening statement, I hope every single one of the candidates on this stage can pledge to reform the Constitution, because as we saw last night and the night before, the Constitution is utterly useless. It contains a shit ton of just inept laws, regulations, red tape, just things that shouldn't even apply to an MPO. So, personally, I think that it should just be thrown out entirely. There have been multiple good proposals for a new constitution that have been discussed. Pravda has been working on something. I know you have. Many people have been working on a new constitution, and I will help them and I will work on the constitution with them because I think that we, in our new constitution, should cut the red tape, cut the useless stuff, and have a constitution that is easily read and easily complied with.
All right, we're going to ask the same question next to Sans. Do you support constitutional reform in the Epsilon Republic? Excuse me. Why or why not? And if so, what would this reform look like?
Well, I'll say that I definitely do support constitutional reform. And the reason for this is I'm echoing a lot of what other people have said up here already because they make good points, right? It's because it's quite literally a copy paste from the Constitution of Monaco, which, by the way, is not a republic as ours, but a constitutional monarchy. And it's got so many things that wouldn't even apply here. And because of this, I'd really like to help the Constitutional Reform Committee in drafting up a new constitution. There have been so many new ideas about it. I know there's been an idea to base it off the Zeta Republic's constitution. I know there's been a few other ideas, like to base it off of your new constitution and then something else entirely, really. And so, yeah, that's basically my position on constitutional reform.
All right, and same question to you, Foxfan Angel. Do you support constitutional reform in the Epsilon Republic? Why or why not? And if so, what would this reform look like?
So, can you guys hear?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, I think on the constitutional reform, uh, first of all, I want to state something really important about my answer. Uh, some people here say that we should could have a constitution like Monaco Constitution. One of my candidacy posters that's shown a sign on the trustee building saying Republic of Epsilonia uh, say that copying is bad. And I think we shouldn't copy Monaco's constitution because many of the laws of a real life republic or monarchy doesn't fit on the Minecraft roleplay of a republic. To be honest, I don't even think that we could call it a republic. Uh, okay, now I say nothing with nothing, but okay, what I think on a constitutional reform is that we don't that yeah, we could have a constitutional reform. I don't really have an idea of a constitutional reform because I don't even read the constitution, okay? I don't have I don't have interest of reading all the laws and all the stuff. So my idea that I made just a few seconds ago is that we could make the constitution simpler with laws with less laws, but that make a lot of difference. I mean, we don't need a giant book with little laws that apply to very specific things. I think what we can do is one just page of a constitution with a few laws, but that have many power to the country, and also that encourage the democracy and the free will of the Epsilon Republic.
All right. Thank you, Foxfan. We're going to go on to the next question. This one is a bit of a two-part question. We are going to be starting with Elite Neon on this question. The question is, how would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point, if any, at which you think action is warranted, and what would you do? And the second part of this question, is, what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art from the Epsilon Republic this week, and how would you have handled the situation as president?
May I please have the first question repeated? You cut out in the very beginning, and I did not.
The first question, how would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point, if any, at which you would intervene, and what would you do? And what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art from the Epsilon Republic this week, and how would you have handled the situation as president?
Well, if it comes to the point where the people in this argument are going in all camps, are all caps, calling each other names, and are just all out yelling and making the Epsilon Republic Discord an inhospitable environment, then I will intervene. I will talk to them personally if I was present in the situation, and if if I had the capacity to suggest a warning of some sort, then well, that's what I'll do. And on that note, I fully support the decision of Vulpicula and the cabinet to expel modern art from the Republic of Epsom. Modern art ran the ROV as a dictatorship because he was a dictator, and I'm not trying to slander modern art's name. I'm just stating what I and most people on the server would call a fact, and I do not wish to incite an argument with that person at this moment. He ran the ROE like a dictator. He was yelling with me, he was yelling at everybody, and his behavior was unbecoming of a member of the Republic. And if I was president, I would have kicked him out earlier. Uh, I do, I do realize that this was an emergency decision, and so I fully support it. And Volpico and the cabinet did the absolutely right thing to do.
Alright, same question to you, Echo Hugh. How would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point, if any, at which you would take action, and what would you do? And what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art from the Republic? How would you have handled the situation?
As a moderator on the MRT, my responsibility is to keep arguments civil and take action when needed. I will not hesitate to take action if things spiral out of control. I will moderate debates regardless, and we need to make sure that Epsilon stays civil and does not evolve into just a big argument. If the only thing that keeps Epsilon alive will be arguments and debate and rude, uh, just absolute chaos, I will not hesitate to make hard decisions. On the topic of modern art, I had some involvement with what happened. It was not the best situation. We were stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I think that Vulpicula, as president, made the decision that was the best in the current situation. We didn't really have a choice, and I think this is why we need a new constitution. This is why we need a Justice Department, which I will spearhead the establishment of, so that the Justice Department can handle these situations. The Justice Department can bring cases forward when they're not severe enough to, be an MRT issue, but still severe enough to possibly warrant the expulsion of a member. And I think a Justice Department would have helped immensely with the situation that we had recently with modern art.
Alright, we're going to bring the same question over to Sans. How would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point, if any, at which you would take action, and what would you do? And what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art from the Republic? How would you have handled the situation as president?
Well, what I believe here is that debate is definitely a healthy factor in a democracy. You're going to need having people debate over things is actually a pretty good thing because it shows opposing viewpoints, and it's definitely something that makes you think, and it helps people govern more than just having one opinion pushed all the time. But if I think where I draw the line is when it starts becoming too uncivilized. When you got people like making ad hominems and stuff like that, when you have people really just going all out on each other, then I think what I do in that situation is break up the argument and say no more of this. We'll even lock the channel for a designated period of time if I have to, and speak to the members privately. And on my thoughts on the removal of modern art, I think it's definitely something that we needed to do because modern has been responsible for a lot of the Republic's problems here and a lot of the predicaments that we'd have to come across because of his actions over the past few months. I know our Constitution doesn't really allow for that at the moment, but as I've said before, we do definitely need constitutional reform. Normally, this type of thing would have been brought to a vote in the House, but since that's closed down for election season, and because of the basically incompetence of our Constitution as it is, this is what we had to do, and we really couldn't have done anything else. It was either this or the Republic eventually, I think.
All right. Next, we're going to ask the same question to Foxfan Angel. How would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point at, if any, at which you would intervene, and what would you do? And what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art, and how would you have handled that situation?
Okay, so I think that if some people are arguing on on the Discord channel, even if I agree with one side of the argue, I would I would tell people to chill out and say that the Republic was not made for fighting and but for collaboration and prosperity. And my thoughts on modern art is that I think we exaggerated on what we did of modern art. I think it shouldn't be banned. I think we should get on the maximum a punishment. I mean, remove most of his seats on the Epsilon Republic, but banning him, I don't really think that was really necessary.
All right, Sam.
Well, at least we have one voice to differentiate all the others.
All right, same question to you, Circles, on behalf of I7. How would you handle a situation in which arguments are breaking out in the Epsilon Republic Discord? What is the point, if any, at which you would intervene, and what would you do? And what are your thoughts on the removal of modern art, and how would you have handled the situation as president?
Okay. Everyone has different viewpoints, and that's normal. But when it gets wild, when it gets personal, that's where I draw the line. I want to make sure that all the arguments are done in a civil manner. And if it does get personal, I will try my best to control it, and I will give the involved sides a couple of advice to make sure to not cause any ruckus or any discord within the republic. And over the topic of modern, even as a member of the Liberal Party, I do feel that his expulsion is justified to a certain extent, because we've seen that during discussions of several acts, especially for the new capital, um, he tends to go a bit further. Even though I do feel it's a bit of a um, both sides kind of like started to get wild. I do feel it's because of modern's persistence that it gets out of control. And so I I hope for the best for modern though, and I am welcome to I am open to welcome him back to Republic, but if and only if um, he will not cause any more discord within the ROE. That's it.
All right. And believe everyone has answered the question, so we're going to go on to the next question. And this one we are going to be starting with Echo Hue. The question is, what is the biggest weakness you see in the Epsilon Republic, and what will you do to fix it?
I think the biggest weakness in the Epsilon Republic currently is how some of the ministries are set up and how the Constitution is written. Now, obviously, I've made my opinion clear about the Constitution and our need of a Justice Department, but I also think that our ministries currently are quite inefficient. I think that we should make it a point to merge some of the ministries and make them more concise. I think the laws should be on one concise page so that we know everything and what everyone should be abiding by. I think the Constitution should be easily searchable. I think people should be able to easily find out what laws that are going on and be able to cite it if someone is breaking a law. And I think we shouldn't have unnecessary red tape. We shouldn't have these unnecessary things that keep people from doing whatever they need. Um, we need to make sure that everything is understandable and easy to access in Epsilon.
Alright, we're going to ask the same question to Sans. What do you see is the biggest weakness in the Epsilon Republic, and what will you do to fix it?
Well, you see, what I see as the biggest weakness here is our Constitution, and really how just it doesn't make much sense, the Constitution, really. I mean, it is copy pasted from Monaco's Constitution, as I've said earlier, which makes it not really optimal for Minecraft MPO. But how I will fix this Constitution is by drafting bills, and, with the whole thing I said earlier about how a lot of more people listen to you when you're president. I'll draft bills about it, and I'll make sure to help the Constitutional Planning Committee, Constitutional Reform Committee, draft up a new constitution that is easy to understand. It's searchable, and it outlines the laws pretty easily, whatever that form of constitution may be.
Alright, thank you. Let's go over to Fox Fan Angel. What do you see is the biggest weakness in the Epsilon Republic, and what will you do to fix it?
First question: do we even have a weakness? The only thing we think is the weakness is modern coming back to a to make people to make the country a dictatorship again. And I question not the candidates, but everyone that's watching the the debate, everyone that is watching the is a member of the Republic of Epsilon. What are the chances of you voting on modern art? And I mean, what are the chances of modern art doing a doing a dictatorship again if he gets elected? I mean, he already has been banned. He already knows the lesson. I think he already knows the lesson to not make a dictatorship. So my answer to that question is we don't have a weakness. We only think we have a weakness.
Okay, on to Circles representing I-7. What is the biggest weakness you see in the Epsilon Republic, and what will you do to fix it?
Um, as demonstrated by the drama that happened earlier, we can see that the Constitution is apparently quite filled with gaping holes. Like, let's be honest, when you all joined the Republic, did anyone actually like read the Constitution in its full? And I'm gonna admit that I just only skimmed through it because even I found it a bit too convoluted and too long, which I don't think what the Constitution should be for a Minecraft roleplay MPO. In fact, what we should do is a set of rules that is simple enough for everyone to understand. And I do feel like the Constitution is indeed the one of the weak points of the ROE, and there may be some other weak points, but as far as I'm concerned, this is probably one of the major ones. That's it.
All right. And finally, let's move on to Elite Neon. What do you see is the greatest weakness in the Republic of Epsilon, and what will you do to fix it?
Well, this point has been touched upon very much in this question cycle. Obviously, our biggest weakness is our Constitution. Our Constitution is a heap of rotting garbage when it's compared to other MPO constitutions. We need to completely redo the Constitution to firmly establish a Justice Department. We need to remove the frilly language that implies that we have unions or we already do not respect our family lives and our privacy. We need to redo our Constitution to cut the red tape and make sure that the Constitution is easy to read. When I read the UC Constitution or the Zeta Republic Constitution, which I had a great deal in, which I helped a great deal in writing, I could read it as a novel. It was easy. It was somewhat enjoyable. When I had to read the Epsilon Constitution, it took me half an hour of squinting and wincing to make it through. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it now.
All right, thank you. And then I have one more question that is for all of you. After that, I have a few questions directed at specific candidates, but the next question is, should the Epsilon Republic have a capital? Why or why not? If so, where should it be, and how will you organize to get that done? We're going to start with Sans.
Well, I think the Epsilon Republic should have a capital, and it's because of its really immense potential as a place where we can do community builds, and basically everyone can work on this capital that is really the signifier of what Epsilon is. It's really, if you want to see a summary of what our MPO is, we go to the capital, because the capital is just a project by everyone and it's for everyone. I believe that Elite Neon's proposed location of the island in the north part of the world, well, I think it's more northeast part of the world, it's a viable proposal, because me and the rest of the capital planning committee have already started to plan out where exactly things will go in this capital. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to Foxfan Angel. Do you believe that the Epsilon Republic should have a capital? Why or why not? And if so, how are you going to organize to get that done? Where should it be?
So I think Epsilon should have a capital, main because of its because that first of all, the current Congress building, the current Parliament building, is located no at Pasadena, and the city of Pasadena's mayor is modern art. And as you know, that except me and maybe Frog, no one here likes modern art. We should move our capital to somewhere else. At at first, I think the capital be a small city, because I think we need to give value to the councilor or unranked cities. But as the Zeta came to face the problem of lack of space, I think our new capital can be a very realistic city. And that's why the idea I made a few seconds ago is to ask some people from the Wolfhaven server to help us build the capital and plan the capital. Because if you go to Gardelia in Wolfhaven, the architecture levels are more more intense, like buildings are more realistic and roads are wider. Uh, I it, I think it's because of I don't know. It's because of the players. I don't know. It's because of the facility of having worded perms. I don't know. I just think we could have a realistic capital and even make a new parliament building.
Okay, thank you, Fox Fan. Next, same question to you. Circles representing I-7. Do you think the Epsilon Republic should have a capital? Why or why not? And if so, where should it be? And how will you organize to get that done?
In my opinion, we should have a new purpose-built capital for the ROE and make it a collaborative project between the members. And I believe that the capital planning committee had done a great job in finding the potential locations of this new capital, and I hope that um, by the next term we can start building the capital together. And I'll also hope that the committee will do uh, a good job in making sure this capital for the ROE will be one of the um, one of the sorry uh, one of the best collaborative projects to be done for the Republic. That's it.
All right, let's head over to Elite Neon. Do you believe there should be a capital for the Epsilon Republic? If so, where should it be? And how will you organize to get that done?
I'm admittedly biased in this matter. I am absolutely in favor of building a capital, and I myself proposed ER 18A and ER 30A, which provided for the creation of a capital planning committee, and that resolution also put me at the head. Pasadena, while a very nice center of the city, is not fit as the capital. We can build the capital from the ground up, a beautiful city that gives an excellent setting for diplomacy and trade. I personally proposed, at the behest of the committee, an island in the Northern Ocean about twice or thrice the size of DSM Island, just off two peninsulas in the Zeta region. The island is obviously on the Northern Ocean, which means that we can have water traffic immediately. And I envision a seaport capital city in the vein of Whiteley and Elder and Fosby and all of the great seaport cities. It is also near the path of the A1 freeway, which I myself am proposing at the general staff meeting on Sunday. Close enough. It is close enough to the older regions that connectivity is easy, but it is still in a brand new area where the closest towns are owned by myself. I think that for this I think that for this capital city, which admittedly we do not have a name for, we can have a community built city with taking the best elements of the best cities of the MRT, putting it on a beautiful island, a beautiful location, a community built city to bring together our community, which admittedly does need some mending. And not to mention, we're going to build an excellent parliament building. We're going to build a brand new Capitol building, which will be fit for the greatest republic in the MIT's history.
All right, and finally, the question goes to you, Echo. Do you think the Epsilon Republic should have a capital? Why or why not? And if so, where should it be, and how will you organize to get it done?
Well, I believe we should have a capital, as the proposal to build a new capital has already passed. So, yeah, and as a member of the Capital Planning Committee, I think that building a new capital will revitalize the community and allow for more teamwork and for people to work together with each other to build this new capital. I think, as the mayor of the premier city of Sunshine Coast and many others, and as the president of Bahia, that I would be a great help in building this capital city, and I'm sure all of the people on stage would agree that they would love to work on this capital city. So I think that it is a great idea to build a new capital city. But if we decide not to do that for some reason, I think the capital should be in Central City.
All right, thank you. And so that is all of the questions that I have directed at all of the candidates. I have a few questions directed at specific candidates. So my first question, is directed specifically at Echo, I7, Sans, and Elite. All of you have either earlier in this debate or in your manifestos or campaign pledges made in the weeks prior, all of you have called for the building of transportation infrastructure under the banner of the Epsilon Republic. How will you organize to make this happen? We're going to start with I7, represented by circles.
So I believe that transportation is probably one of the most important projects and also the important attraction point for members to join this MPO. And I think the way I will organize it is to um, propose like for example a common rail line or um, a common seaplane, etc. But at the same time, I do understand that maybe some members are not willing to give up their autonomy on stuff, as we can see with the rejection of the of the the Epsilon Airplane Act. So what I think should be done is a compromise between the two, where private companies can still operate privately, but we will also invite these private companies to build something on behalf of the ROE. So be it maybe a rail line, for example. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the subway has done a great job with um, the Epsilon Rail as the head of the rail department. And there are also several other um, rail companies such as I7's New Rail FLR, which um, is also serving quite a number of the members of towns within the ROE. I think that's it.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to Elite Neon. You've called for transportation infrastructure to be built under the banner of the ROE. How will you organize to make this happen?
Well, firstly, let me say what I'm not going to do, and I will not support a repeat of the National Airline Act, or the I forgot the proper name of that bill, but the National Airline Act does sum it up. A National Airline Act takes away gates from fledgling airlines that want to get a foot in the market but cannot. The National Airline Act makes it harder for companies like mine, and well, I actually have 4 companies because I can't come up with a concrete name. It makes it harder for companies like mine to get in the door. Also, I support the concept of a national rail system, but I think that the Department of Rail should focus on commuter rail within metropolitan areas and states, and I do not think that Epsilon Rail should expand across the server. We already have enough. We already have enough rail companies, very, very good companies, especially Interrail and Rail and Q. I'm not mentioning those for a particular reason, and I think that we should leave it to them to serve the Epsilon Republic and having Epsilon Rail doing commuter rail to pick up the slack. Now, my main transportation focus is the Greyhound Bus Initiative. I already have an item on the GSM docket that calls for a Epsilon Bus Company bus terminal near the Central City Northwest MRT station. My plan for that is that we establish the bus hub there, then we pick cities that are on the perimeter of the Epsilon Republic and are connected by roads, such as the capital, hopefully, and Sunshine Coast, and uh, that's all that comes to mind. But yes, and we're going to initially establish those routes to those cities, and then we're going to infill. We're going to create infill stations on those lines to connect our cities. Infill stations, and we're all going to do it within my first presidential term, and I can guarantee that.
All right, same question to you, Echo. You've called for building transportation infrastructure under the banner of the ROE. How will you organize to get this done?
Yes, as president, I will organize a department of infrastructure or transportation or something like that, and I will get everyone who wants to build infrastructure together to do it. I think that we should we should work on A roads. We should definitely work on canals, because the Zeta region is in big need of canals, and if no one else wants to do these things, then I'll personally do them. As president of Montego, I built an entire A road between Whitley and Dead Bush in a single day, and I will do it again. Now, I hope that I will be able to work with other people, with the many people who are on this server, to build great things and great infrastructure. I personally think that we should keep the nationalized infrastructure companies to a minimum and be mostly building infrastructure for for previously existing infrastructure companies such as Intra, Rail Link, etc. Um, and leave it for them to use instead of creating our own companies managed by the Republic, which could cause a hassle of ownership, etc.
All right, thank you. And finally, we're going to bring it over to Sans. You have also called for the building of transportation infrastructure under the banner of the Republic of Epsilon. How will you organize to get this done?
You see, as president, what I'll do now is I'll chip in on this stuff, and I will dedicate a lot of work towards it. I'll try to find numerous routes that could be used for things like buses or trains. And I will work in conjunction with the heads of the respective departments for the transportation to really to achieve something with the transportation. Sorry about this. What I will do with this is I will work in conjunction with the respective departments of roads and of rail and of sea to be able to really connect to the Republic. As I've said before, connecting the Republic is a pretty big part of my campaign. And what I'll do with that is with the team of me and a lot of the ministries of our Republic, I believe we can really accomplish a lot. I'll get the ministries off their feet, and working.
All right, thank you. My next question is for Echo and Elite. We're going to start with Echo on this one. In advertisements and earlier in the debate, you have promised to cut unnecessary regulations. What are some examples of regulations you would cut?
I believe that there are some unnecessary regulations that stem from Epsilon being thought of as more of a republic than an MPO. I think that we should gradually move away from that, although I think it is a very unique thing. At the same time, there are countries around the MRT, such as Bahia, which would like to, stay independent, even though they're part of Epsilon. So I think if there are regulations out there such as that people are trying to push for, and I think we should keep those to a very minimum. In the current constitution, it says, for example, that cities in the or in Epsilon can't even restrict travel between each other, and I don't think that's really necessary. Things like that should be cut from the laws. I think that cities should have as much authority to do what they wish as possible within Epsilon.
All right, and same question to you, Elite. You've also promised to cut unnecessary regulations. What are some examples of regulations you would cut?
Well, I was really speaking along the lines of the departments. And so under a Neon administration, I will cut defense and I will cut the Department of Air. We don't need a Ministry of Defense because there's nothing to defend us from. Now, Janji has done an excellent job designing ships for the Ministry of Defense. They look nice. Sure, they don't have interiors, but we can't expect that much. But we don't legitimately need defense. It's not like we're sending the fleet to China. And we don't need a Department of Air because we've already voted against the National Airline Act. And under a Neon administration, I will work valiantly to quash any repeat of that. And speaking on the topic of reforms, I think stripping the mentions of unions and family life from the Constitution and things along those lines are what you could expect under a neon administration. Thank you.
All right, my next question is for Sans. You promised in a campaign advertisement to give government services to the towns that link the Republic together. What do you mean by this, and what kind of government services are you proposing?
Well, by government services, I mean things like infrastructure, which is, as I see it, definitely a government service. Infrastructure really helps link your town to other. Oh, sorry, my mouse went a bit weird there. But infrastructure really helps you link your town to a lot of other towns, and it gives a lot more realism in your town because it gives roads out and roads in. It's definitely a pretty big part of building a town. Also, what I mean by that are things like government buildings, things like the ENPS. I know quite a few people are against the ENPS's existence, but I see that we should keep the ENPS here because what it really is for me, it's not really supposed to be a functioning post office by any means, but what it is a donation to the treasury of the Republic so that we can do more.
I think you cut out there at the end.
Oh, when did I cut out?
After the word more.
Uh, all right. So I feel like government services like the ENPS, things like that, could definitely be offered because I don't really see them as they're supposed to be a functioning post office. I don't think that many people see them as that. But what I see it as a donation to the Treasury so that the Treasury can get more done with more money.
Thank you, Sans.
All right.
My next question is to I7, who is being represented by Circles Pointless. The question is: In late March, I7 posted an advertisement for the Liberal Party, encouraging people to forget about the past and look forward. Earlier in the debate, you also said that your party is no longer what it used to be. What is in your party's past that you wish to move on from, and what has been done to change it?
Well, what we would like to move on is we would like to cut off from the turbulent past during the December fiasco. Because in my opinion, the powers to be of this party back then um, were maybe in the wrong in how to run the republic, and because they were not respecting the will of the people when they lost the elections. And for me, I think it's a wake up call. And now, under the new party leader of I7D, and we've seen that we have moved away from this past, and I think in the future we will be more open with the people, and we will strive to maintain the the democracy of the excuse me, the democracy of the ROE. That's it.
All right, thank you. My next question is for Fjork, or Foxfan Angel. You said that you will organize cooperation to make towns prosper. What do you mean by this? What type of cooperation do you wish to organize, and in what form?
So I think that when it comes to a second. Okay, so when I say cooperation, I mean that cooperate the unranked and consular towns to prosper into mayor or senator towns, because there are many towns with potential, but they are unranked. And as I said, the my that I think that Epsilon Republic should be a place where you cooperate with other people to make their towns grow, to make their towns prosper, to make their towns a town or a city. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for Elite Neon Echo and I7. I'm going to start with Elite Neon on this one. The question is, all of you have suggested that the Epsilon Republic needs a Justice Department. How will you organize this? I'd like to ask the candidates to please stay at your podiums. Anyway, Elite Neon, you are first on that question.
I support something along the lines of what was done in the Zeta Republic Constitution, and with some inspiration from the essentially fictional city-state of Catania justice system, which I was randomly studying last night. I think that we need to have a Supreme Court, obviously, and we need to have a Supreme Court, an elected Supreme Court, and we also need to have regional district judges for day-to-day operations. But we need to make sure that for the big decisions like the decision to kick modern out, that we need to have Supreme Court backing everything and making sure that everything is legitimate.
Okay. Same question to you, Echo. How will you organize a Justice Department?
I won't pretend I know everything. The Justice Department is not exactly my expertise, so I will work with others who have more experience in such things, who have worked on previous Justice Departments and previous MPOs to create a Justice Department that is fair and free for everyone and determines cases that will not um, result in things that happen, such as what happened a couple days ago. I will work with everyone who wants to work with me on this. I will make sure it's codified into the Constitution, and hopefully, we can get a competent Justice Department that actually works.
Okay, and then finally we'll take the question over to I7 represented by Circles. How will you organize a Justice Department?
Well, first, the Constitution needs to be corrected first, so it allows for a proper judiciary system for the ROE. And I'm gonna admit I'm not really that much of an expert over um, judiciary stuff, and so what I think is the best course of action is to put it up for a vote. Um, what I think would be the best option is a democratically elected judge, um, and we'll also like to have um, a representation from every party to voice out their opinions on something that needs to be judged, for example. And I will also hope that this judiciary system will be, in some ways, independent. That's it for me.
Alright, thank you. And my last question is to Fox Fan Angel. The question is uh, with regards to building a capital city for the Epsilon Republic, you said that you wanted to get members of Wolfhaven involved. How will you organize this and make that happen?
So when I say that um, uh, to to ask Wolfhaven people to help us is because they know more than architecture than us. I mean, Gardelia is for in an infrastructure Kazits. Um, uh, Gardelia is far more advanced than us. I mean, the roads are wider. I mean, it would be. it would be hard to say, "Hey, bro, could you please help us to make a city that is far from a country of or server MRT?" I don't think many would say yes, but I think if at least one person say yes, it would be very easier to tell us what to do right or what to do wrong, because uh, many guardians know how to do architecture, principally Hurricane Panda or Silver Wolf or Vincent and many other people. That's what I think.
All right, and that is it for the questions asked to you by MBS News. Before we go to the next part, I would just like to give the candidates the opportunity to refute anything that was said by other candidates if you want to make a point. This is a debate after all, so if you would like to speak, you can just say so aloud.
I'd like to interject first, if I may. Why should we go to Wolfhaven and ask for their building input when we have some of the best
Objection!
builders?
Objection!
Excuse
Please
me,
do
sir.
not.
I am talking.
Please do not speak out of turn. Please keep the debate civil. It is Elite Neon's turn to talk.
On this very dais, we have Echo Hugh, who got his city of Sunshine Coast to premiere with barely any world edit when in regard to roads and infrastructure. Why should we go to Wolfhaven when we have people like, for instance, Kitty Cat 11231, who has who has built an empire of franchises and rail and air and even bus and seaplanes. Why should we outsource the needs of our capital on this server to another server when we have the talent right here already in this republic?
I will give Fox Fan the chance to respond if he wishes.
First, Elite, I didn't say ask Wolfhaven people to build our capital. I said that ask Wolfhaven people to help us building the capital, not building all the city at all. It has a big difference between building and helping to build. Understand?
Yes, I'd like to interject, if I just may, one more time. Help directly implies building. Say, if you ask your friend, Noob Slayer 1141, I'm just making this up, to could you help me with the supermarket? That implies that you're building. If you're asking somebody from Wolfhaven to, oh, could you please help us with this capital? We're really lost. That implies that they build and they give input. And so why should we ask them at all? We have the talent, we have the skill, we have the people right here. And I find it irresponsible to go to an entire other server, hat in hand, when we don't even have to leave Gamma to find good talent.
Okay,
Uh,
Lit.
May
can
I
may I
was
interject? May I interject?
I will give Circles the floor.
I'm on the side with with Elite for this, because I think this capital should be a collaborative project for the members of the Republic. So I do understand Fjord maybe wants some help from Wolfhaven, but even within the Republic, we can see many building talents. And even if we want to search other reasons, the main sole reason is to build something collaborative, something to build together as members of the ROE. That's it.
Right?
okay.
I
I will
Can
give
I
the
say
floor.
something?
I will give the floor to Fox Fan. Fox Fan,
Uh,
you have the floor.
okay. So I just want to state that it was just an opinion. I did not say I did not say I just say we could. and I did, and not we. If I going to be president, we are going to do. And as the people said here, uh, I don't think that we aren't we shouldn't uh, make Wolf Haven help us to build. Uh, is our capital an MRT capital and not a Wolf Haven capital? Our town should be original, not with help of any outside server help. You're right, Olivia.
Okay. Would anyone else like to make a point either on this or another topic? If not, then in that case.
Well, actually, I I do agree with the other two people on the stage who have said basically, I mean, we need to use our own capital. I mean, our, we've got people like Heaven Angel, we've got people like me, we've got people who are good builders, and I personally think that I would, I'd love to work on a capital with people. We don't need to bring in talent from other servers. We've got it right here. We've got amazing builders in Epsilon. We've got amazing people who can all work together to bring this server together, to bring this MPO together to make one of the best cities on the MRT.
Yes. Can I interject?
Yes, you have the floor.
I'm not gonna say much else than what other people have said on here. It's that I do agree with the fact that we don't need Wolfhaven. We've got so much right here. So many people who are dedicated to building, really, and honestly, I've seen some of the best architecture I've ever seen on Minecraft here on this server. We've got so many amazing people with so many differing building styles that can really help contribute to our Epsilonian vision as it is.
All right, thank you. If anyone would like to speak on any other topic, this is the open floor part of the debate. You can critique what the other candidates have said and all of their policy positions. Would anyone like to make a point? If not, then we are going to go to a commercial break. Coming up next, we are going to ask the candidates some of the questions that members of the public submitted to MBS News over the past week. We will be back after these messages. You're watching the Epsilon debate on MBS.
ritorni mai più. Mi dipingevo le mani e la faccia di blu. Poi d'improvviso venivo dal vento rapita e incominciavo a volare nel cielo infinito.
Oh yeah, we flying so high. All we see is blue sky. Oh yeah, we flying so high. All we see is blue sky. Oh yeah, we flying so high. All we see is blue sky. Oh yeah, we flying so high. All we see is blue.
Dipinta di blu.
The Cavalman 231 from MBS News. On the air because of some breaking news.
Those are the questions I want to try to answer.
And that would make you team number 1. Why did you tell A-Lion, like, immediately everything of what it was?
Time for fourth to last.
Good day, I'm Skelly Zomperman in the MBS newsroom. Here's what's happening. The 6th MRT Vision Screenshot Contest is underway. Today marks the close of the joining period for the contest, and participants have until Friday to submit their screenshots. MBS will be broadcasting the semifinal ceremony in Arcadia live on April 25th, as well as the final ceremony on May 9th. Minecraft Yoshi 26 has announced the return of The Mole, a serial game show in which a group of players work through a series of challenges towards a prize to be won by a single winner. But one player is secretly designated as The Mole and works to silently sabotage the player's efforts. Players have to complete quizzes every episode to test their knowledge of who The Mole is, and the person who does the worst on the quiz is eliminated at the end of each episode. The Mole has been on hiatus since 2018. Sign-ups open this weekend. The coronavirus pandemic continues, with millions of confirmed cases worldwide and over 100,000 deaths. North America and Europe, where the bulk of MRT members reside, have been hit hard by the pandemic, and the MRT is facing increased activity on weekdays as members have been told to stay home to combat the spread of the disease. As the server performance continues to suffer on Zeta, Frumple has opened the beta server running a new build of Paper Spigot and some updated plugins. It is hoped that these updates could improve server performance once brought onto the main server. And the general staff meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. You can find the agenda for the meeting in the GSM Agenda channel in Discord. MBS will be live with the GSM tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. That's the latest from MBS News. Follow us for more news at twitter.com/news_MBS. Reporting for MBS News in Central City, I'm Skelly Zomperman. And now back to the Epsilon debate.
And welcome back to the Epsilon debate on MBS. For the next section of the debate, we are going to be asking some questions from members of the public. Now, I would like to make an important note. The only curation that MBS News has done with these questions is that we are not asking any joke or non-serious questions. Any serious questions that were submitted to our forum we will ask, but I will let you know that some of these questions are very loaded questions, some of them asked anonymously from members of the public, so take that into consideration when answering the questions. Our first question is from Lurich999, and he asks this question to everybody. He asks, why should the Epsilon Republic still exist? We're going to start with Sans.
Well, you see, the Epsilon Republic should still exist, well, because of a lot of the reasons for existence. We've got a pretty cool political roleplay thing going on here, and I think I'm not the only one who can say that it's been a pretty fun experience, political roleplay, I think. Plus, it's a pretty cool community in here. I think, for the most part, we've got people who truly are dedicated to this and want to continue the Epsilon Republic. It's a cause that I've dedicated some time to. I'm sure a lot of people on this stage have dedicated a lot of time to the Epsilon Republic. And it's really just a pretty fun activity that a lot of people do seem to like to do. That's basically why I think it exists.
Alright, Fox Fan Angel, the same question from Rich999. Why should the Republic of Epsilon still exist?
For me, the Epsilon Republic should still exist because it somehow forms it makes the personality of people. It makes MRT know who are you. I mean, it makes people on the MRT know better who you are. I mean, the Epsilon Republic or maybe any other NPO, uh, it brings many other situations like who are you gonna vote, who are you to do, and uh, it's good because when the people the more the people vote in the ER, more people the people will be ready to vote in real life in the real candidates if the country they live have the elections privileges. So I think that the Epsilon Republic, it's a test. It's not only a formation of good memories, but is a test for people of the tomorrow, uh, for people of today, vote consciently tomorrow.
Alright, thank you, Fox Fan. And we're going to take it over to Circles representing I7. Rich999 asks, why should the Republic of Epsilon still exist?
Well, I see this MPO as a medium of collaboration between the various members of the server, and I've seen that we've made quite good progress, good discussions on collaborative issues, collaborative programs, and I think the RE should continue to exist as so to facilitate this collaboration, and not to mention that the ROE is one of the biggest MPO, and with this we can achieve probably one of the biggest collab of the server.
Alright, we're going to pass it over to Elite Neon. Why should the Epsilon Republic still exist?
Well, the Epsilon Republic exists because not only is a vessel, as you said earlier, a vessel for political roleplay, but it is a vessel for cooperation between cities and and a vessel to build infrastructure and build better infrastructure. Now, we haven't really done much of that because the righteous members of the Epsilon Republic have been fending off tooth and nail for the bare concept of democracy. But now that some of those issues have been resolved, although not all of them, we can start to focus on infrastructure. The Epsilon Republic, you can get. The Epsilon Republic is a vessel for infrastructure, and it's a vessel for political roleplay. Who doesn't like political roleplay?
Alright, and finally, Echo, which 999 asks, why should the Epsilon Republic still exist?
I think Epsilon should stay as long as we're doing things like that. I'm in Epsilon. It's fun to do debates. It's fun to do political role play, and it's great when the Republic actually does something productive, like a road project or a highway or a canal, And under my presidency, I'll do more of those. I think it should stay around as long as it's doing things like that. I mean, if it goes inactive, if we stop doing things like this, if we stop doing infrastructure projects, then I don't think it should stay around. But as long as we're doing this, then I think it has a use. It gives us something to do.
Alright, thank you. The next question, please be forewarned, this is a very loaded question. You can very much tell the viewpoint of the person asking this question, and this question was submitted to us anonymously. I would like to ask all of you to please be civil in your responses, but this person asks, quote, do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action? That is a very loaded question, so keep that in mind when responding, but I am going to give that. They asked that to every candidate except for Fox Fan Angel, but I am going to give Fox Fan Angel the chance to respond to that anyway. So, Fox Fan, you can respond.
So what was the question again? I didn't understand.
This is a question that was submitted anonymously. The question is, do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party, which is led by Modern Art, advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action? That is a very loaded question, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to respond to it.
Okay, so I think that the party can do whatever it wants. Uh, I mean, in quotes, because there are, I mean, within the limits, the party can do whatever it wants within the limits of the government. And I think that we don't, we can't judge a party because uh, just because the gov- the the leader of the party was modern art. I mean, do he even want? Did he even want to make a dictatorship? That's what I think.
Okay, we're going to take it over to Circles representing I-7. Again, a very loaded, anonymous question. Do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader, Modern Art, indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action?
If I'm gonna be honest, I actually quite like the idea of providing local governments with more autonomy within the republic, though I also do understand the concern due to the fact of who is leading the party. And so, and of course, as we have seen earlier today, we I am not quite sure that sorry, I'm not quite sure that we could probably get the results as been um, advertised on his manifesto. But I do believe it was a good idea. But um, as I said before, I understand the concerns because of because of modern. Yeah.
All right, we're going to pass it over to Elite Neon. Same question to you. This is an anonymous question. Do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader, Modern Art, indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action? Again, that is a very loaded question. Keep that in mind, but I will give you the opportunity to respond.
Well, the concept of local government is essentially what what all MPOs are aiming to aid with. But when a party that is run by Modern Art, who previously had displayed authoritarian tendencies and ran the Republic of Epsilon like a dictatorship, it raises concerns. And quite frankly, when this question was written, because obviously this question is no longer relevant, I I find it incredibly hypocritical for the Progressive Party run by Modern Art to advocate for local government when in the experience of Modern Art is the one who quashes the local government. This is obviously an attempt to save face and to make it look like Modern at the time was for democracy.
Okay, I will pass it over to Echo to answer the question asked anonymously to MBS News. Do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action?
As a person who, was the person who organized the first revolts for democracy, I don't particularly disagree with what the person who wrote this is obviously implying, but at the same point, I don't think this really matters anymore because modern isn't in the Republic. The Progressive Party either doesn't exist or is in shambles because its leader and most of its towns and cities are now gone. I don't think this question particularly applies currently.
All right, thank you. And finally, we'll ask the same question to Sans. A question asked anonymously. Do you approve of the so-called Progressive Party advocating for certain ideas such as local government when the previous actions of the party's leader indicate a strong predilection for authoritarian action?
Now, this question's obviously irrelevant now since Modern's kicked out of the Republic and all, but what I do find merit in the concept of a local government, and I do think it's a pretty important aspect that you do need to kind of consider. However, the fact that the party is led by Modern Art of all people, Modern Art, the person who basically tried to run this place like a dictatorship, it really doesn't strike me the right way because I feel like he's not really to be trusted in truly carrying out these things. And I do feel like it's kind of hypocritical for him to do that.
All right, thank you. Our next question submitted by a member of the public is to Echo. This question was asked anonymously. The question is, can you be more specific about the major infrastructure projects planned if you are elected?
Hi, anonymous questionnaire. Some of the projects that I am proposing include a road that will connect Lameva to the rest of the MRT road network. This A road will be able to connect one of the Epsilon Republic's greatest heartlands, a MPO that has many cities that are in the Epsilon Republic that are all very nice, to the rest of the road network so that they'll be able to drive and get buses and all that. I think that we should establish canals. There are many areas in Zeta that need these canals that I can't really list off at the moment, but I think really if anyone wants a canal, I think we should consider proposing it. I think we might consider building a road between Fort Yaxier and Redwood to connect quicker to the southern region of the MRT. And just generally, I mean, if we're going to build roads, we should build them where they're needed. And if anyone in the Republic needs an A road or wants an A road, I'll seriously consider it. Under my presidency, my infrastructure department will be open to suggestions of where you want roads, infrastructure projects, canals, highways, or, well, highways are roads, but railways, all of that. I'll take your opinions, I'll take your ideas, I'll put through my own ideas. And I think we can get this all done together.
All right, thank you. The next question was also asked anonymously. I'm going to guess it was asked by the same person who asked the previous question about modern art. I'm not going to ask this question because it's not really relevant anymore. The question is, do you believe that modern art should be kicked out of the Republic? Of course, he's already been kicked out, and we already sort of touched on the merits of that decision in part 1 of the debate, so we are going to skip that question. The next question we have from a member of the public was asked anonymously to all candidates, and the question is, what is your plan for the ministries in your administration? Would you remove, add, merge, or split any ministries, or would you change the ministry system entirely? We're going to start with Circles Pointless, representing I7.
I think we should trim down the number of ministries because I think there are some that is redundant and there are some that is not that much of a use. Like, for example, the Ministry of Defense could probably get axed. Um, well, Ministry of Transport should stay with the, but though the division of departments, I honestly feel like these separate departments, according to the transport mode, should be more unified under this Ministry of Transport. And another thing is probably to merge foreign affairs, internal affairs, and maybe with communications to a lesser extent. Um, but of course, we will. A better option is to discuss this together with the members once the house reopens soon. That's it.
Alright. Next we'll take that over to Elite Neon. What is your plan for the ministries in your administration? Would you remove, add, merge, or split any ministries, or would you change the ministry system entirely?
Now, firstly, I'd like to touch upon just some of my personal opinions. I think that the name of ministry should be swapped out with department, but that's just a personal preference. But I'd just like to let the record show that I support that, but I will not actually act on that under a Neon administration. Now, under a Neon administration, I will ask the Ministry of Defense, as it serves no real purpose other to build some awesome ships, and I compliment John G on that. He's done an excellent job there. And I will ask the Department of Air, because a Department of Air, that implies that we are setting up a national airline to take away gates from fledgling regional carriers such as my own and such as many other airlines on the MRT, and giving them to a state-sponsored airline. Yeah, I don't like that one bit. I don't think you should like that. I don't think the entire republic should like that. And I do not have the necessary confidence in the leader of such a department after the debacling of the National Airline Act, and so the Department of Air would go. Otherwise, I would consider merging the Ministry of Communications and merging the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I might cut finance. I'm not sure. I'm
I think you cut out there.
Excuse me. I will not cut finance actually, as it seems to be an actual department and not a completely roleplay thing. So I will not cut finance. I will cut air, and I might merge foreign affairs.
Alright. And let's take it over to Echo. The question again. What is your plan for the ministries in your administration? Would you remove, add, merge, or split any ministries, or would you change the ministry system entirely?
Well, we've already got a ministry system in effect, so I don't think I'll want to change it. But I do think that many of the ministries that we currently have are pretty much useless. If you go through the ministry channels, most of them are just random chat such as the Ministry of Public Affairs, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of, Foreign Affairs. All of these things really should be merged into, 4 or 5 ministries. I don't think we should have a bunch of ministries that do about the same thing or just do nothing. Things like the Ministry of Defense, while I commend John G on his leadership in that, I don't think it's really needed. Like for an MPO, it doesn't really add that much except for role play. Yeah, I think we should merge many of the ministries. Things like foreign affairs. There's literally like 1 or 2 other MPOs. Like as Dalt has said, the only thing he can really do is like say hi. It's not really useful. The Ministry of Finance, I don't really know why we'd need that. I'd like to have a conversation with the people who run it because it just seems kind of useless, honestly. I don't think we should have a nationalized bank or anything. I agree with Elite Neon. We shouldn't have a national airline or anything. I just generally think that we should cut some of the unnecessary ministries and keep it down to like 4 or 5, because that's all we really need in this.
All right.
We should have like-minded people working together in these ministries. The more people working together in one ministry is better than like 1 or 2 people working together in a bunch of ministries.
All right, thank you. And we will hand it over to Sans. Same question. What are your plans for the ministries in your administration? Would you remove, add, merge, or split any ministries? Or would you change the ministry system entirely? Again, this question was asked anonymously.
Well, what I'm gonna say is I'd probably just kind of, I don't know if I'd really rather merge, or I'd probably just delete the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There aren't many other NPOs and the MRT. And what I'd probably want to do is try to merge development and environment, because I feel like a lot of the environmental stuff also kind of ties into the whole development of cities type thing, and I think they're more kind of together than separate. Another thing, the Ministry of Defense, as many other people have said, it's just it's not really useful. No one's gone to war over anything, but I do commend John G for a lot of the stuff he's done in it. I think he's done a pretty good job. Also, the Ministry of Air. Well, the Department of Air under the Ministry of Transport, rather. I don't really like that, but I do think what we should do is replace that with an air alliance for Epsilonian carriers, so that we can still kind of have some sort of national involvement in airlines, but it's more decentralized, and it's more the own companies get to really act on it. And I think the whole prospect of an Epsilonian air alliance rather than an airline is a good idea.
Alright, thank you, Sans. And finally, we'll take it over to Fox Van Angel. The question asked anonymously is, what is your plan for the ministries in your administration? Would you remove, add, merge, or split any ministries, or would you change the ministry system entirely?
So, as long as I like the idea of nominating some people to be the from their respective uh, men ministries, like Mossy being the Ministry of Roads because he loves highways. I actually think that some ministries are redundant. So I think that we could merge a few ministries to make things simpler, easier, and faster for the national development.
Alright, thank you. The next question that was asked to everyone, and the question is, this is asked Anonymously, the question is, are you in support of the Epsilon Republic taking up public infrastructure projects akin to UC roads from the United Cities and UC Transit? We did touch, most of the candidates did touch on this earlier in the debate. The only candidate that I do not believe specifically talked about transportation policy was Foxfan, so in order to save time, we are just going to ask the question to Foxfan. Are you in support of the Epsilon Republic taking up public infrastructure projects akin to UC Roads and UC Transit, which were two programs in the United Cities? Foxfan, you have the floor. Hello? Can anybody else hear me?
We can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Dude, were someone asking me a question?
Yes.
Yes.
The question, which is asked anonymously, is, are you in support of the Epsilon Republic taking up public infrastructure projects akin to UC Roads and UC Transit from the United Cities?
What? What did you say?
Are you in support of the Epsilon Republic taking on public infrastructure projects like roads and transit?
I don't really understand your question. Is
Should
the
should the Epsilon Republic be building things like highways and rail lines, stuff like that?
okay? I think it at some part it's good because it connects more the people to the way the place that they want. I think it, and at the other hand, it's bad because it takes over the chance of many people that want to start a rail line or a bus line or that uh, because the government will be doing this. It will be taking the chance of them to do it. So I think we should not make uh, an entire transport system owned by a government, but an alliance of many small uh, rail lines and transport lines to encourage the small people to 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 have a chance to connect the whole MRT and the Epsilon Republic together. That's what I think. We should give chance to the small people.
All right.
I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. The next question is from Skelly Zomperman, and it is addressed towards Elite Neon Echo and I7. I'd like to start by saying the premise of this question is incorrect. Echo is running for the Llama Libertarians, Elite is running for the Committee on Epsilonian Renewal, and I7 is running for the Liberal Party. So the premise of this question is incorrect, but Skelly Zomperman asks, you three are all part of the same party, yet you are also all running for president. What makes you different from each other, despite the fact that you share a party affiliation? Again, the premise of this question is incorrect, but I will give you the opportunity to explain how you are different from each other, and we're going to start with Echo.
Well, although I'm not part of the same party as my friends here, I do think I'm a bit different from the other people at this stage. I personally believe, as the name of my party shows, that we should have a libertarian approach to politics in the Epsilonian Republic. I think that towns should have as much rights as they can. I believe that we should the Epsilonian Republic should generally keep its hands out of town's matters. It should, you know, it should mainly have its purpose be for infrastructure and political role play, not trying to intervene in what towns or nation states do. Um, yeah, I think a lot of people might disagree with me on that, but that's what I think. And I think that generally we should just work to improve the Republic. And I know everyone here agrees on that, but yeah, that's really all I have to say.
Alright, and circles representing I-7. Again, the question from Skelly Zomperman. You four are all part of the same party, which is not true, yet you are also all running for president. What makes you different from each other despite the fact that you share a party affiliation, which again is not true, but I would like to just give you the chance to explain why you are different from those other two candidates.
Okay, well, the premise is false, obviously, but I'm gonna answer anyway. So, well, I think what makes I7 different from the rest is um, we all may have the same goal, but we have different approaches on how to achieve these goals. And um, for me, and I think I7 will probably think the same, is that this ROE should take on a more collaborative route, making it as a mean of partnering with other members to get involved with common projects, such as an A road or railway, for example. Um, and I think that's it.
Alright, and then we'll finally take it over to Elite Neon. Again, just how do you differentiate yourself with Echo and I7?
Well, actually, let me set the record straight first. I am, in fact, a member of Echo Hugh's party. I'm a card-carrying llama libertarian, and I am proud of my affiliation. However, I am running in this election just to keep the candidates on their toes and to plug my issues. Admittedly, I intend to endorse Echo Hugh for president. I wish to remain on the ballot. And if in some, I don't know if you could call it a miracle or a nightmare, the Epsilon people choose me as the president, I will serve gladly. But I think Echo's better for the job, quite obviously. I'd also like to remind our audience, please, no fireworks. All right, and
again,
but
anyone who is in the audience and causing disruption, Echo Hugh will teleport you to spawn. You have been warned.
Yeah, who is...
If it happens again, you will be teleported to spawn. Anyway, Elite, you may continue.
I am slightly different from Echo in the sense that initially I did support a form of big government. I am a Democrat, and in the somewhat related Zeta Republic, I was appalled when the president did not get veto powers. However, the Llama Libertarians have shown to me, and I now agree with their position, that in this scenario, we need a libertarian approach to democracy, especially given the history of our republic.
Alright, thank you. And our next question is asked anonymously to all candidates. And the question is, what are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server? I think for this question, we are going to start with Elite Neon. So the question again is, what are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server? Hello?
Can you hear me? I'm having some
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Could I have the question, please? I did not catch.
The question is, what are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server? This question was asked anonymously.
Well, I think it's a very good idea, and even though there aren't any Democratic MPOs left, but some of the city planning oriented MPOs. Could somebody tell Janji that I'll answer that question in a moment, or I might as well just answer it now. I'm running for president.
I would like to remind our audience that the last part of the debate we will be accepting audience questions directed at the candidates based on what has been said so far. This section of the debate is on questions that were already submitted to us via a form. So if you have a question that you want to ask the candidates, please wait. We will have a section to do so. Elite, you may continue.
Okay, I'm remembering the question now. So even though there aren't many Democratic MPOs left, I think we should work with the city planning oriented MPOs and the individual states on these projects, because why not? They're already here, we're here, so we might as well work together. This is this is a sort of a kumbaya approach, but
All right, we'll take it over next to Echo. What are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server?
Although there aren't many MPOs left on the server other than us, I'm personally, of course, we should work with them. As the president of both Montego and MPO and Bahia State, yeah, I'd be personally, I'd love to work with myself. But yeah, I think that if there are MPOs that we want to work with, then sure, why not? I don't see any reason to not work with other people.
All right, let's pass it over to Sans. The question again, what are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs and governments on the server?
Now, while there aren't many others, and we've kind of emerged as the dominant MPO, I'd say, if hypothetically there were other pretty large MPOs, I don't see really any disadvantage to working with them. I mean, like, hey, why not? When we got more, say we got like double the people, then it's gonna get it. Whatever we're doing is gonna get done in half the amount of time, really. And I really just don't see any disadvantages to potentially working with other MPOs.
All right. And next we're taking it to FoxFan Angel. What are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server?
Ask it to me.
Yes.
So I think that, I mean, my government would be about encouraging the small ones, and I think that fits perfectly on my propose. I mean, we could n- my government already plans on collaborating with small airlines, small railways, small cities development. Why not small MPOs? Why not helping write them constitution? Why not helping them develop their capital? Why not helping them with the election system? That's all that I have to say.
All right, thank you. We'll pass it over to Circles, representing I7. What are your opinions in general about working with other MPOs or governments on the server?
Well, I think I'm open to cooperation and collaboration because I think that's the best way forward. Because I mean, like we can achieve more things if we work together, and that's it.
Alright, and remind me, Elite, did you already answer this question, or do you still have to answer the question?
Which question?
What are your opinions about working with other MPOs or governments? Did you already answer that?
I've already answered that, and I will reiterate for the record.
Okay, you already went. Great. Our next question... That's a joke answer. Okay. This one is a repeat answer. Someone sent the same thing in twice. Okay. This next one is asked to all candidates by Adult Disneyland. The question is, do you support reform to the voting system so that votes are counted by voters instead of seats. For some context, the way that the Epsilon Republic House of Representatives works is that players receive an amount of votes in the House of Representatives determined by the rank of their town or towns. So, for example, a governor city has more votes than a senator city, and Dalt is asking if you would propose changing this. We're going to start with Echo.
As president of Epsilon, I will immediately hold a referendum and see, well, what the public's opinions are. I personally am neutral on this issue. If the people are all in favor of the current system, then sure, I'm fine with keeping it. But if the people are, against it, then yeah, I think we should get rid of it. I personally don't quite I don't quite care for the current system, but if the people support it, then I think we should keep it. So I will hold an immediate referendum to see what the people's thoughts on this are, and if they support removing it, then yeah, we'll look into options for that.
Alright, pass it down to Sans. Do you support reform to the voting system so that votes are counted by voters instead of seats?
Well, I personally, I'd say that I support reform to the voting system so that it's counted by members rather than seats. Since, some votes can actually win by members voting on it, but seats can be the deciding factor. And I think that kind of creates an unequal balance in the republic. However, I'm not very heavily leaning toward one side, and I'd like to hear what everyone else thinks of it before making a decision.
Alright, let's pass it over to Foxfan Angel. Do you support reforming the voting system so that votes are counted by voters instead of seats? So, for instance, every person would receive an equal vote in the House of Representatives rather than it being based on town rank. What is your opinion on that?
I absolutely approve. I absolutely for the electional reform. Uh, I mean, look at the 2000s election in the U.S. I mean, the the votes should not be voted by electional colleges or the rank of their towns or the number of seats, but it should be voted by the people. So it improves even more our democracy. That's what I think.
Alright, let's pass it over to Circles representing I-7. Do you support reform to the voting system so that votes are counted by voters instead of seats?
I see the current voting system as a replication of how real life parliament works, where often populated urban areas have more seats. Um, but though I do understand the concern because there might be a moment where um, the popular vote gets outnumbered by voting according to seats. But I would also like to say that the current seating allocations is a bit too skewed. And in fact, before it was just one additional seat for each promotion. But if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around mid-January, I think it was one of the early moment during Volpe's administration, there was a bill that was put to vote um, to change the number of seats being allocated, and which is why you see how premiers get like um, way more seats than councillor ranked ones. Um, but you see, from January to now, we also see a lot of new members that has joined the ROE. So I think the best course of action is to gauge their opinions on this. If if the majority decides to continue with the current system, then we'll just continue with that. But if they wanted a more member-oriented system, then we'll run with that.
All right. We'll pass it over finally to Elite Neon. Do you support reforming the voting system in the House of Representatives so that votes are counted by voters instead of seats?
Well, I'd like to get the record straight here, and I'd like to just say that I was a major helper to Volpicula when he proposed ERO3A, which was among the emergency measures that gave premiers, governors, senators, and mayors more seats. And I think that it is one of the things that makes the Epsilon Republic unique, that we have a system that rewards innovation, but that rewards the innovation of these cities, but at the same time is still democratic. Because I don't think I could name one instance where the number of votes was in the majority. The I'm sorry to phrase that there was an instance where we had the number of seats win a bill and outweigh the number of actual votes.
All right. Thank you for that. The next question asked by a member of the public. This question was asked by Skelly Zumperman. The question is, to all candidates, previous MPOs such as the United Cities have been accused of allowing members to circumvent the MRT rules. How would you make sure the MRT rules are still followed above all in the Epsilon Republic? We will begin with Sam.
Alright. The MRT rules still followed in the Epsilon Republic. Well, I'd make sure to do that by sort of employing the tactics that I sort of mentioned earlier about, the whole making sure to talk to people if they've done something wrong. But this, instead of debates and going ad hominem on people, this is instead the MRT rules. And if I notice someone violating the rules, if I notice anyone circumventing the rules, I will make sure to preempt them or mail them and give them a warning about it. Say, hey, you can't do this. Look, you can't do this, right? And if you keep doing it, then your status as a member of the Republic will be in danger. And if people notice you doing this, you're probably going to get a pretty big blow to your reputation. I will make sure that people aren't able to just kind of circumvent it.
All right. Next, we'll take the question over to Foxfan Angel. Previous MPOs, such as the United Cities, have been accused of allowing members to circumvent the MRT rules. How would you make sure the MRT rules are still followed above all in the Epsilon Republic? This question was asked by Skelly Zumperman.
So, first of all, I want to state that I was on the MRT for like 2 years. I don't even know how the UC worked. But if I saw someone breaking the rules of the MRT, I'd probably first notice staff about it, principally a staff that is a member of the Epsilon Republic, such as Opicula or Echo. And if they continue that, first I I in person would DM them saying, "Hey, bro, so you can't do that. Keep chill." And if they do that, we would remove a big part of their seats on the parliament. If they continue that, they would we would kick them out of the republic. I mean, I'm personally not for banning and kicking people out of the server or the MPO, but yeah, sometimes it's necessary. That's what I think.
All right, thanks for that. I7 represented by Circles against Skelly Zomperman asks, previous MPOs such as the United Cities have been accused of allowing members to circumvent the MRT rules. How will you make sure that MRT rules are still followed above all in the Epsilon Republic?
Well, the Constitution is supreme, but the MRT rules is supremer. So if we do found one of the members circumventing the MRT rules in the Republic, I would first give them a word or so, um, to notify them that they are breaking the MRT rules. And if situation does escalate, then we might have we might need to do some more actions like maybe getting the help of the staff to see um, to evaluate the situation. That's
Alright,
it.
thank you. And we'll pass it over to Elite Neon. The question asked by Skelly Zomperman. Previous MPOs, such as the United Cities, have been accused of allowing members to circumvent the MRT rules. How would you make sure the MRT rules are still followed above all in the Epsilon Republic?
Quite frankly, I would just I would just let it be known that the MRT rules are the rules and that they will apply on the Epsilon Republic Discord server. And I don't, and really in the Epsilon Republic in general. And if anyone is legitimately found to be breaking those rules, then it'll be a firm talking to and even eventually a ban. I'm saying I'm saying a ban as a worst case scenario, just to clear that up.
Alright. And finally pass it over to Echo Hugh. Skelly Zomperman asks, previous MPOs such as the United Cities have been accused of allowing members to circumvent the MRT rules. How would you make sure the MRT rules are still followed above all in the Epsilon Republic?
Well, the Epsilon Republic has rules, but MRT rules are superior to the Epsilon Republic's rules. As part of the cabinet and as an advisor for Ophiopicula in the previous crisis, I have worked to enforce the MRT rules above the Epsilon Republic's rules when the MRT's rules were being violated. And as a moderator on the MRT, I will continue to enforce the MRT's rules on Epsilon. I won't just allow people to break them. That's not what happens.
Alright, thank you. The next question was asked anonymously to Echo. So, Echo, the question is, one of your main goals is to dramatically change the political system of the Republic of Epsilon. What is the current system that requires such a massive change? That is an anonymous question.
Dramatically, I mean, it's not really a goal of mine, but, I mean, well, the current system as is isn't quite preferable. The Constitution that's in place needs to be replaced. We need a Justice Department. I personally think that Epsilon should kind of stay out of city's business, and, I'll make sure that my opinion is heard on that, and I'll try to push through that portion of my agenda if it's, popular. Of course, we've got to reform the Constitution. We've got to establish a Justice Department. We've got to work on these things, and I think we should fix that. But at the same time, I don't think we should, as this person asks, I don't actually think that we should dramatically change the Epsilon Republic. I think it needs severe changes, but I don't think we should just throw out everything. At the same time, again, I am personally more in favor of an MPO style view instead of a state, instead of calling it a state. I personally, as the president of Bahia, um, you know, I like to be my own thing, even though I am in Epsilon. Um, but yeah, I just like for things to be more libertarian. We need to reform some constitutional things. We've got to establish a justice department. We've got to work on roads, but that's just what I want to do.
Alright, thank you. Now, I would like to know the next question. This is an anonymously submitted question, and it seems to pertain to something specific. I am not aware of the context behind this question, but it's listed for Elite Neon and Fox Fan Angel. The question is, given that you have an ongoing conflict with Fox Fan Angel, I assume between Elite Neon and Fox Fan Angel, how do you plan on dealing with future conflicts as they may arise? Again, I'm not aware of the context of this. Was an anonymously submitted public question, but I am going to give the floor to Elite Neon first.
Alright, so I'd like to set the record straight here. I was scrolling.
I think you cut off Elite.
I was scrolling in the media channel of the Epsilon Republic Discord server, and I noticed that Fox Fan Angel, did a campaign ad of his in a building that I built in Central City, and I noticed that I thought that the sign in the middle of the MRT medallion was changed from the MRT Trustee Association to the Republic of Epsilonia. I thought Fjork did this, but after intense searching of my own memory, I realized that it was indeed I that changed the sign, and I overreacted, and I gravely apologized to Fjork for all the rather the public blowout that I inflicted on him, and I apologized dearly. And I don't have the best of memories. It's not bad, but it's not good. I do not intend to further any more conflict with Fjork, and I hope to move on from this rather shameful incident.
Alright, I'm not going to bother giving into Fox Fan. That was more of a question regarding Elite's behavior. So we're going to move on to... Okay, well, the next question is about Modern Art running for office, probably by that same person. We're going to skip that, considering that Modern is not running for office. This next question is directed to Modern Art. We're going to skip that as well, and we're going to skip the next question directed at Modern Art. Alright, the next question is asked by Chief Bazex to all candidates. And the question is, how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works? I'm going to start with Fox Fan Angel.
What?
The question asked by Chief Bazex is, how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works? Basically, how will you make it easier for people to join the Republic and understand how it works?
First of all, the small answer is two messages, it's two words. Google Forms. Mic drop. The uh, longer answer is we can make it easier by just explaining uh, the general rules, a smaller version of the general rules of the Epsilon Republic, like respect all the MRT rules or don't cause trouble and other stuff. And then we ask them to fill their name and ask for a code, and then the name of the town and the rank. Then we, if it's just fine, we could choose some people to be the people who see the admissions of the parties, because I mean the cities, the people, these people who maybe the admins of the Discord can see, would see the applies, and then they would they would accept or not the epsilon their entries. That's how I think it could be easier. I hope I answered your question.
Can I just switch to another client, please?
Are you just restarting your game?
Yeah, I just gotta log off for a second. Well,
Yeah,
not
that's
log
fine.
off. I'll
You're
be on.
you're gonna be the last person on this question, so you have some time.
All right, cool.
All right, then we are going to go over to circles representing I-7. The question again: how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works?
If I understand correctly, I think the barriers of entry is actually quite lax. All you have to do is give your town details, the coords, for example, and then the president will deal with the admission and welcome to the Republic. Though, in terms of understanding, though I understand that it can be a bit hard for people who are not used to a parliamentary system, and so I think um, we could try explain to the people who doesn't understand. So hopefully that they will also play a part in this democracy. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll take it over to Elite Neon. The question again is: how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works? This question was asked by Chief Boss X.
Now, firstly, I need to make what I get.
I think you cut off again, Elite.
I need to make an emergency, or at least what I see to be an emergency public service announcement. If you if you see people who you do not whose usernames you do not recognize on MRT related Discord servers, you may want to ban that particular person, because we've had some incidents in the Epsilon public before. And I'm now looking at the MRT Baseball League Discord, and there's a random person there, and I'm quite frankly concerned that this might create an incident. And now onto the substance of the question. I think that we should move. I think the current entry system is all right. I think it's relatively lax. But I think that we should move to a United Cities style system, where you just put your town's name and your name on your wiki and that relevant information. But and so yeah, that's about it.
All right, and let's take it over to Echo. The question: how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works?
I personally don't think there should be any barriers to entry. Epsilon should be an MPO that's accepting to all people, to states, cities, everyone. I think that under my administration, I will work so that the, to make the way that you join just by putting your town on the wiki and joining the Discord, and that's really all. Of course, I was the one who worked for the Discord bill, which makes sure that everyone's in the Discord so that everyone can, know what they're voting for, know what the conversations surrounding bills are. But at the same time, I think that's really the only requirement we should have. Just stick your city on the wiki and join the Discord. That's under my administration, that would be the way that you join.
All right, and finally, we're going to take it over. Okay, then. We're going to take it over to Sans. The question again: how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works? Is Sans there?
All right. Can anyone hear me in here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. What's the question?
The question is, how will you work to lower the barriers to entry for new members, both in terms of the actual joining process and the process of understanding how the Republic of Epsilon works?
Well, I wouldn't say that the joining process has such a high barrier. Really,
I think you cut out.
I wouldn't say that the barrier for the joining process is very high. All you really need to do is join the Discord and then type in a few things about the town you want to enter, and then you're basically in the Republic right there. But about the process of learning how this whole place works, I'd probably make somewhat of a new user's guide to be able to kind of get around the ins and outs of how this whole Republic thing actually works in the first place. Also, this kind of ties into the whole constitutional reform thing too, because the Constitution as we have it now is pretty hard to understand, I'd say. And when you got stuff about like unions and family roles in there, it kind of jumbles up people's like understanding of this place. So yeah, reforming the Constitution could also, bring a whole lot more to it. It could also bring a whole lot more understanding among new users here too.
Alright, thank you. And now we've only got one question left from the public. After that, I'm going to open it up again for you guys to to debate each other's points mentioned in the debate. But before that, the last public question is asked anonymously to all candidates. The question is, if elected, will you uphold the current Republic of Epsilon Constitution in full until it's replaced? We're going to start with circles representing I-7.
Well, as things stand, it is still the Constitution, even if it's broken, but we will try to have it fixed ASAP. And so until then, unfortunately, we'll have to keep up with that, as long as it doesn't break MRT rules.
Alright, same question to you, Elite Leon. If elected, will you uphold the current Republic of Epsilon Constitution in full until it's replaced?
To be honest, I don't think I would. The Constitution is a flaming heap of garbage. Now, at this point, it's the rules of honor and it's the rules of the superior MRT server. If elected, I intend to uphold the rules in earnest, in honor, but I will not directly enforce the Constitution. And I think that is why we will go directly to and make it our first priority to come up with a new Constitution and to make sure that the Constitution works and is a document that we can live by and legitimately read.
Alright, same question to you, Echo. If elected, will you uphold the current Republic of Epsilon Constitution in full until it is replaced?
If I am elected, I will try my best to enforce the Constitution, or at least not do anything that violates it. But at the same time, my first priority is to make a new Constitution that doesn't have all of these ridiculous rules and confusing things that really shouldn't be in a Constitution. So, under my administration, I will enforce the Constitution for as long as it takes to make a new Constitution, but my first priority will be to make a new Constitution.
Alright, thank you. And let's pass it over to Sans. If elected, will you uphold the current Republic of Epsilon Constitution in full until it is replaced?
What I'd probably try to do is I'd try to kind of keep it how it is now. Like, as you can see, it's not really upheld in full, but like, we try to commit to it as much as we possibly can. The Constitution is inherently flawed, however. However, we should still try to keep to it as much as we possibly can to, kind of have something. But we can't really commit to it in full.
Alright, and we're going to finally bring the question to Fox Fan Angel. The question again is, If elected, will you uphold the current Republic of Epsilon Constitution until it's replaced?
By uphold, you mean cancel the Constitution,
Will you
right?
will you continue to enforce the Constitution as it is currently written when you are elected?
Well, I don't really know. I don't really read the Constitution, so I don't have an idea if it's good. I don't have an idea if it's bad. But if we if we continue if we make a new constitution, or better, when we make a new constitution, because we are we are actually not going to have any constitution at all in between, because we are going to follow the MRT rules that can easily apply to all the MPO of the Epsilon Republic.
All right, thank you. And that is the end of the questions that we received on our form from members of the public. In a moment, I will open the floor up to you guys, but first, I would like to, on an unrelated note, we do have some news just in from MBS News. Applications for the Mole 10 have opened. Minecraft Yoshi 26 just made that announcement. That is some news that we just received from MBS News. And now we are going to open up the floor to the candidates to critique each other's positions iterated in this section of the debate. So if anyone would like to make a comment, speak now.
I would like to.
You have the floor.
Now, this isn't really much of a critique, but it's more of something I said earlier. When I said back before about the question about what I would do circumventing the rule, with players circumventing the rules and stuff, I did say that I would warn them. Obviously, some people might have taken this the wrong way. I I don't mean warn them like through the MRT rules, but I do mean sort of to warn them like, hey, if you do this again, I might have to report you off to staff. Less of a formal, like, actual MRT warning, but more of just a sort of Epsilonian warning.
All right. Would anyone else like to make a comment on any points previously discussed during the debate? Refute something one of your opponents said?
I have a question. Is this the last segment of the debate, or
We will
is
have.
there a segment?
We're going to have one more segment of the debate. The next one should be shorter than the previous ones.
Thank you.
But would anyone like the floor to speak?
I think I've got my points across.
If not, then in that case, we are going to go to another break. I would like to note the next section of the debate, we will be accepting audience questions regarding everything that has already been spoken at the debate. There are two ways that you can ask a question. You could ask it right here in our YouTube live chat. If you do so, please attach your Minecraft username. If you would like to ask a question anonymously, please DM me in Discord. My username is kittycat11231 #4473, and please explain that you want the question to be asked anonymously, otherwise I will include your username. But there are two ways for you to ask a question: in our YouTube live chat or a direct message to me in Discord. And we will be right back after the break to hear the candidates' responses to the questions that you asked. For now, you're watching the Epsilon debate on MBS.
it all. I've never been the type to go. I realize to be happy, maybe I need a little company. So now you know it all, that I've been desperately alone. I haven't found the one for me, but I believe in divinity. I found what I've been looking for in myself. Found a life worth living for someone else. Never thought that I could be happy. I believe in possibility. I believe someone's watching over me. And finally, I have found a way to be happy. From the concrete to the coast, I was looking for a Holy Ghost.
And I'm just trying to tell you. And I'm just trying to tell you.
MCR! On the line, on the go!
Good day, I'm Skelly Zomperman in the MBS newsroom. Here's what's happening. The 6th MRT Vision Screenshot Contest is underway. Today marks the close of the joining period for the contest, and participants have until Friday to submit their screenshots. MBS will be broadcasting the semifinal ceremony in Arcadia live on April 25th, as well as the final ceremony on May 9th. Minecraft Yoshi 26 has announced the return of The Mole, a serial game show in which a group of players work through a series of challenges towards a prize to be won by a single winner. But one player is secretly designated as The Mole and works to silently sabotage the player's efforts. Players have to complete quizzes every episode to test their knowledge of who the mole is, and the person who does the worst on the quiz is eliminated at the end of each episode. The Mole has been on hiatus since 2018. Sign-ups open this weekend. The coronavirus pandemic continues, with millions of confirmed cases worldwide and over 100,000 deaths. North America and Europe, where the bulk of MRT members reside, have been hit hard by the pandemic, and the MRT is facing increased activity on weekdays as members have been told to stay home to combat the spread of the disease. As the server performance continues to suffer on Zeta, Frumple has opened the beta server running a new build of Paper Spigot and some updated plugins. It is hoped that these updates could improve server performance once brought onto the main server. And the general staff meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT You can find the agenda for the meeting in the GSM Agenda channel in Discord. MBS will be live with the GSM tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. That's the latest from MBS News. Follow us for more news at twitter.com/news_MBS. Reporting for MBS News in Central City, I'm Skelly Zomperman. And now back to the Epsilon debate.
And welcome back to the Epsilon debate on MBS. This is the time for audience questions. So far, we've only got one question from a member of the audience. If you have a question that you would like to ask, our live chat on YouTube is still open, and you can DM me kittycat1231 #447 443. I forget what the numbers were. You probably can search my name on Discord. Anyway, we're going to go to that question. It is to all candidates, asked by John G. The question, this is an interesting question. The question is, do you have any proof in form of polls or other votes that your opinion or candidacy is supported by a majority of people? I don't quite see the point of that question, but we're going to ask it anyway. Let's start with Sans.
Well, you see, there was this poll, right? And it actually, it pretty much simulated what an election would actually be here in Epsilon. And the poll actually showed that I would win the election over people like Volp or Echo. And I think
will note he hosted that poll.
I do admit that I did host that poll, but I have exported the results to other people to see if the math checks out. It's not like I'm going to. It's not like I'm trying to fabricate a poll in which I win to further my candidacy. But I did have the poll, and it did show me winning the presidency of the Epsilon Republic. Plus, I have the second largest party here in this Epsilonian Republic, the Epsilon Development Party, which I think has been pretty successful over its tenure. So my ideas have actually caught on with some people.
All right.
That's about.
It looks like Fox Fan is gone. He is not
I'm
in.
not done.
Oh. Well, Fox Fan, would you like to answer the question?
Which question?
The question is, do you have any proof in the form of polls or other votes that your opinion or candidacy is supported by a majority of people? This is a... Yeah, you can answer that.
No. My candidacy is probably not supposed it's not supported by many of the people because one, in MRT policy, I'm a synonym of a joke. Example, Kyrgyzstan, I made a presidential candidate. I made a presidential election. Echo one, I cried. Uh, España, I I made an election for prime minister, not president. Kitty Cat win, and he now controlled the country. And and also because I have the smallest party on the whole on the whole Republic of Epsilon. I mean, I'm the only member of this party, the only member. So even if that people vote on me, I don't think if a few people vote on me, I don't think I don't have that much support of the people. I think I answered your question.
Alright, and let's take this rather pointless question again over to I7. Do you have any proof in the form of polls or other votes that your opinion or candidacy is supported by a majority of people?
Well, it's obvious that in any of the pre-debate polls that we do not have a majority support. So that's
All right. Let's Elite Neon. You want to answer?
No, I do not have any poll. I do not have any polling on this issue and whether I have legitimate support. However, and so I would like to clarify that if the polling that is being done shows that at least a sizable minority of people on the Epsilon Republic support my candidacy, then I will rescind my endorsement of Echo Hugh and move to a fight to win strategy.
All right. And Echo, you want to answer?
This question is pretty pointless, but I will note I'm running under what is by far the largest party in Epsilon, and the latest poll that was conducted shows me winning by around 45% to 50% if you add Vulpicula's supporters, because it was conducted before Vulpicula dropped out. Now, we don't have any polling data more recently. I assume someone will probably put up a poll after this debate, but I'm going to guess that I have the most support out of any candidate here just based on the polls that I've seen. I will note that I also conducted the most recent poll, so but I will be releasing the results to the public soon. But I will note I am running under the largest party. Of course, don't vote for me just because I might have support. Look through all the other candidates, check out their policies, see if they have good policies. But yeah, I still think you should support me.
All right. Thank you. That was a pretty pointless question. You know, if everyone knew the answer to that question, we wouldn't need to have an election in the first place. Anyway, that is the only question we received from the audience. So, with that, I think that is going to be the conclusion of the MBS News Epsilon debate for April 2020. Thank you to all of the candidates who joined our debate. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions, and thank you to everyone who has watched our debate. Keep in mind, later tonight, MBS is going to be airing a new episode of Volpe's Snapshot Review, so stay tuned for that. And tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT, MBS News will be live at the GSM. For now, from MBS News in Central City, I'm KittyCat11231, and thanks for watching.